I feel like that's kind of the scary game with YouTube. YouTube is you. You are your content.
At some point in there, you hit 1 million subscribers. In many ways, your dreams were coming true.
Yeah. But I felt like I couldn't enjoy it. I feel like every good thing that came increased the anxiety of like, oh, this is all gonna go away. And I had this really big public breakdown. I didn't think I was gonna leave YouTube until the last day we shot Reply.
Are you open to that? To new friends? To new possibilities?
Over the course of 1 year, Elle Mills reached over 1 million YouTube subscribers and was named Breakout YouTuber of the 2018 Shorty Awards.
Filipino-Canadian YouTube star Elle Mills for the 10th annual Shorty Awards.
From the very beginning, Elle had an approach to storytelling that was fun, geniusly crafted, and super inspiring. But her rise to fame turned out to be really hard on her personally, and later that year, Elle burnt out at the age of 19 and made a video about it.
Why the fuck am I so fucking unhappy?
Now, Elle has announced that she's taken a break from YouTube to pursue a directing career. I'm sitting down with Elle to talk about that decision and why she's tired of making herself the product. Elle.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So psyched to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So a little while ago, you wrote an op-ed piece for the New York Times. You wrote, "But another part of our culture is to make yourself into a product and figure out how to sell that product. Success is measured in views and subscriber counts, visible to all. The numbers feel like an adrenaline shot to your self-esteem. The validation is an addicting high, but its lows hit just as hard."
Yeah. No, yeah. I feel like that's kind of the scary game with YouTube, because I think what I realized, you know, in hindsight, like when really reflecting on my YouTube career, because I was the product, I feel like that's why my career felt so anxiety-inducing, because it felt so attached to my self-worth. And like, as much as like a video doing well is so great, and I feel like I talk to my YouTube pals about this all the time, it's such an addicting high. Like you really feel like you're on the top of the world, but then comes the opposite of it. If a video doesn't do well, it really, I can't describe it. It's like, it just ruins the entire day, maybe the week. I don't know. It's a weird thing, and I think it took me a while to understand why. I mean, I've been thinking about like how it could change. I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of the system, isn't it? You know, like YouTube is you. You are your content. So how can you not take it personally when it doesn't do well?
Humans are humans.
Yep.
Not content.
Mm-hmm.
And we commingle those two things when we put ourselves out there like that.
Yeah.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. Well, just a little backstory, because I definitely worked with an editor to get it to the point where it is. So yeah, I made my last video, which was like a short film called What Happened to Elle Mills. And I think in it I said, I don't want my life to be the product anymore. And Anna Marks, who's the New York Times editor who worked on it with me, reached out, and she was like, I really like that piece, and I think we can write an essay kind of about that. And so like, I guess like working on it back and forth for 2 months, I was like really reflecting on my YouTube experiences, like what is it that I've learned from this? And like I had like over the past like year or two of like taking a step back from YouTube, realized like things like I don't know, there's a guilt I feel about like some of the videos I've made. Just because I feel like, I mentioned this in the piece, like I feel like I took advantage of people's longings to be seen, you know? And I feel like there's certain videos where I'm like, I can't believe these people allowed me to do this and film this and post it online. But I also get it, because I'm like, I look at the lengths I've gone through for some of the videos I've made, and I'm like, what was that? Like that pushed me to like be so vulnerable, but like, so it was like little things like that. Because I've always said, I'm like, oh, if I had the chance to do it all over again, I would. And so I'm like, why? And I think it's because I do feel like YouTube has so much to offer, and there's so much good that can come from it. And it allowed me to grow as a filmmaker. And without it, I wouldn't have the resources and the audience who would want to hear my stories. And it wouldn't have gave me the confidence to become a filmmaker. And so I think the piece is like talking about the boundaries that perhaps should be set that I wish I would have set for myself for the future generation coming up. Because I do believe, you can grow a lot, and it's a beautiful place to share your art and yourself. I think the biggest thing I learned from my YouTube experience is that not everyone deserves your vulnerability. And so just to remind people that.
Do you feel like you mentioned, I don't want to be the product anymore. Is that period of your life over?
Yeah, I feel, even in like my personal life, I feel a lot more introverted, and I feel maybe just conscious of where I share my energy. And so I think that translates to my career as well. I think my mental health has been so much better, and I feel that anxiety and dread I felt my entire YouTube career I'm obviously still an anxious person, but it's just not as intense as it was when I was the product, and when I was in front of the camera, and when my life was open for criticism,
Let's rewind and talk about how you got to that point. Mm-hmm. It was kind of an astoundingly quick rise.
Yeah.
You started uploading videos when?
I mean, I started like middle school and high school but I'd say like right when I graduated high school was when I was like, okay, I'm going to like stick to schedule, upload weekly, and actually try to make this a full-time thing.
And then was there one particular moment where things really popped and you felt like it started working? I
feel like I had little mini peaks, like I feel like the first was like I did like editing trailers, like genre swap trailers. And so that gave me like my first 10,000. And then it kind of then went stagnant for a while. And then I decided, okay, I need to change things up. And then I wanted to be in front of the camera. So I did comedy videos, and I felt like those really kicked off. And then I got stagnant, but more creatively, I felt. And so then I kind of landed on the hybrid between the two, which was, I think, what I ended off on, which is like those teen movie style YouTube videos. Yeah.
Like Ferris Bueller had a YouTube channel.
Exactly.
Right.
Which I'd say the biggest jump was my coming out video for that.
Right. And at some point in there, like within a year or two, you hit 1 million subscribers. You were getting millions of views per video. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, in many ways, your dreams were coming true.
Yeah.
Did it feel like that?
It did, but it was, I felt like I couldn't enjoy it. And I only realized that in hindsight because I was like, these people that I looked up to for so many years are, reaching out, and people actually want to watch my stuff, and people not only want to watch my stuff, but they really love my storytelling, which was always the dream. But it's hard because I feel like also my memory from that time is really blurred, just because I feel like the anxiety was so intense and high that like my memory kind of like was really bad from those few years. But yeah, I felt like I was just constantly focused on what's next, and I feel like every good thing that came just increased the pressure, and also increased the anxiety of like, oh, this is all gonna go away.
Is that kind of what it felt like as like making these? Because each video, what's interesting about your videos is they're all kind of bespoke. Like one is about coming out, one is about getting a tattoo, with the Twitter handle on it. The pressure of having to come up with a new, fresh, creative idea each time feels like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it definitely was not enjoyable. I think also part of it that made it even more like anxiety inducing was that it was all me. Like I felt like it really felt personal if a video didn't do well or didn't do as well as the last one. It felt like a really big hit to my self-esteem.
Was there a team at all helping you on any aspect of it?
I eventually got like a friend to help me out with like the producing side of like, so on the creative side, no, but on the producing side, yes.
Got it. Just like logistics, setting things up, planning events.
Yeah, there would be like big stunts, like I don't know, like a parade, like so, like organizing, like getting the flow and all that stuff,
And how are you financing all of this? Like some of the stunts are pretty big. The videos, I mean, you didn't have $1 million budgets, but like there was some budget involved. Like how did you put it all together? Do you have AdSense? Did you do brand deals?
No AdSense because I was using copyrighted music. But I mostly was making income through brand deals, and eventually my manager got me a business manager to help me be better, because I would use most of the money to reinvest it back into the videos. And so I think that was also a stressor, just because I was like putting so much work and effort, but still like kind of living paycheck to paycheck, oddly, even though like if you looked at the numbers, it didn't really make sense. But I used basically like, I'd say 50% to 60% of each brand deal to write back in the videos.
And then about a year into that, maybe sometime in 2018 or something like that, you made the Burnt Out at 19 video.
Yes.
Started getting panic attacks and it's starting to scare me. I'm literally just waiting for me to hit my breaking point.
This is all I ever wanted. And why the fuck am I so fucking unhappy? It doesn't make any fucking sense. You know what I mean? Because, like, this is literally my fucking dream. And I'm fucking so unfucking happy. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
Like, where was your head when that video came out? What was the kind of instigator for wanting to talk to your audience about that? And yeah, where did that come from?
The build up to that was, it was like a few months after my coming out video. And so everything was happening really fast, and I was going to a lot of events. I did like a full screen tour.
Full screen, the MCN?
Yes.
They booked a tour for you around the States?
Canada.
Canada,
Yes.
to meet fans?
Yes.
Awesome, okay. Did you like that?
I enjoyed, everyone was really nice, but I don't think it was, on top of like doing the videos by myself, it wasn't great, I don't think. I think it definitely made things worse, I think. Because I actually experienced my first panic attack on the tour. And I never experienced one of those before. And so it was really scary. And I also was a teenager, so I don't think I was, handling it very well. And I didn't really have a good relationship with my family. We love each other, but we're not really good at communicating our feelings. And so I felt like I think it was just all bottling in. And I would resort to drinking at that age, especially because there were so many events and everything's so new and exciting. So I just felt like I was drinking a lot, and it all like exploded, and I had this really big public breakdown. I think it was on Twitter, I forget, but it was like after one of those events, and I just like flipped, and I don't really remember it. I just remember like having like a really, really bad panic attack, and I think at that point, everyone in my family and my team was like, okay, we need to like stop. And so I stopped only for like a couple of weeks. In hindsight, I feel like I should have even took more time, but I was very impulsive with even releasing Burnt Out at 19, I felt like, because, I don't know, I feel like I released that not even a month after all that. And, I mean, I was very raw and honest and vulnerable in that. And even in it, I'm like, I don't know what the answer is. But, yeah, so I felt like because of how public it was, I felt like I wanted to share. And also, YouTube has, up until then, had always been my, like, therapy. It was my way of, like, because I feel like when I talk, I stumble over my words a lot. And so I've always felt, even to this day, that I better explain myself through video making.
And when you say it's your therapy, is it like your way of sorting out what's in your head and what you're feeling and what you're thinking? And so it's like almost like your journal. Like we're literally watching your journal.
Yes.
And on video.
Yeah. It's a journal for me, but also a way for me to help people, make people feel how I feel. I'm not really good with my words, but I can do it through video, music, and editing and structure.
Is that intrinsic? Did you learn it? Did you study it? Like, where does it come from? I'm self-taught on everything. I mean, I'm not the most amazing editor ever. I just feel like I kind of like everything's like a rhythm, like the music and the editing cuts and just like the shots. So it all comes hand in hand. So I feel like as a kid, I definitely like I've always been drawn to videos, and I feel like growing up it was definitely really accessible to kids my age. So I like learned how to edit like in middle school and made videos with my friends, and I think just like throughout the years just got better and better at it, and it's been basically the only thing I feel like I'm good at. Like I don't really know, I'm not athletic.
I mean, I could get by in school, but I'm not the smartest. But I do feel like that was the one thing that I enjoyed doing and felt like I wasn't the worst at. So, yeah.
So after you made Burnt Out at 19, that was what, 2018, 2019?
2018.
2018.
Yeah.
After you made that, you kept uploading YouTube videos
Yeah.
for like 4 years.
Yeah.
Now, fewer and fewer videos.
Yes.
Why did you keep going after that? Because that definitely felt like, you know, if there's a chapter 1 and a chapter 2 of Elle Mills, chapter 1 is before Burnt Out at 19, chapter 2 is afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah, why did you keep going, and how did you adjust your creation and your process so that you were kind of, you know, better set up at that point?
Yeah, I think at that point, I chapter 2 was less pressure on the upload schedule, just kind of doing whenever a brand deal came in. The brand deals were the one thing that was keeping me going. I mean, as much as like I really enjoy making videos and that's like my only creative outlet, YouTube was also my livelihood. So that's really what kept me going. Like I was like, I don't know what else, because it was very confusing the past few years. Because I'm like, making videos is my one passion. Like that's the only thing I enjoy doing. So I just didn't understand. I'm like, what else could I do? And so I just kept doing it. I just felt like there was no other choice, which sounds like awful because I actually am very passionate about everything I make. But yeah, that was definitely the one thing that just kept them going. And that's why I was like, for years, I was like, damn, this is, I don't know, this is miserable. And I think the pandemic really, when everything stopped, that's when I was able to really sit with myself and think, I'm like, what is it I want to do? Is this what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, you know?
And your answer was no.
Yeah.
So you made this short film, Reply. Let's watch a clip of it.
'Cause I know I did it to myself. Let it go to hell, and I will go. Try, but I can tell it's just nobody else. You said all good things must end. Tell me they begin again.
I almost didn't move here with my mom, you know? I didn't think there was anything here for me. Guess I was right.
'Cause I know.
There was like a magic on that set that it was a life-changing experience. I feel like working with a team changed things for me. Not being on camera relieved an anxiety that I didn't realize was there, I don't think. I think after I was like, okay, I need to be behind the camera because I could still be creatively fulfilled. And yeah, I think from there, I felt this confidence in my directing, in writing skills that for years, 'cause I always knew that I wanted to be a writer-director, but because I was so insecure about my lack of knowledge of like the technical side of things, like I'd never went to film school. Like I know how to tell a story, but you know, that side scared me so much. But I luckily had such a great team around me and everyone was so down to teach me that I felt like it really gave me that confidence to go full force into a directing career.
At the end of this process, you said on the last day of shooting. How many days was shooting, by the way?
3.
3 days. So on the third day of shooting, you just like got a feeling that this was what you wanted to do more of. That was when? 2022?
21.
2021. Tell me about that revelation. Like, what was that moment? Do you actually remember the moment, or was it just kind of the accumulation of the whole day and the feeling of the day and the shoot? What was going through your mind, and what did you realize about what you wanted for yourself over the next couple of years?
The whole build up to that was like, I don't know how this is going to go. You know, it's my first time ever directing, and I felt like by the third day, the last day, I had this confidence to me. Like I walked with confidence in comparison to the first day. I felt confidence in my abilities I had never experienced in my life. And I felt like it showed me a way of pursuing my passions that wasn't at the cost of my privacy, you know? And I didn't I didn't feel that anxiety that I've felt for the past few years when creating stuff. I think it was like the buildup of like after like on the last day I was like I cried, like I was so just like I knew I was gonna miss the experience, and I thought I was gonna hate the filming part of it because I'm just so used to working alone. But that's my favorite part. There was just like it was like the summer camp feeling to it that I just like immediately after I was like I want to do this again. Like I was like I gotta work. That's when I went straight into like I gotta figure out a feature. I just wanted to go all in. And I think like once like Reply actually finished and I was looking at the end product, I think there was what I was scared and I'm unsure if I was going to be able to do, but I felt like there was a heart to my short film that I wanted it to have, and I felt like I executed it, and I felt like it was better than I imagined. And I don't know, after that I just felt I had to shift gears and go in a different direction.
Rewinding to before Reply.
Yeah.
How did that film come about? Like, you're making YouTube videos, you already feel burned out, you're making fewer and fewer YouTube videos. The pandemic hits, you're wondering where you're going with your life. And then at some point you plan a short film.
Yes.
With like a crew, and you shoot on film, and that's a giant leap.
Yes.
Like, how did you get there? How did that happen?
Yes. So when the pandemic hit, just because I had so much time, I opened a Google Doc and wrote out a script because I was like, okay, I just got to start from somewhere. And so wrote out Reply. It was kind of the same idea, but very different. I think I transferred it to Final Draft, so put it in a screenplay format. And then I sent it, which is why I'm really grateful to YouTube. Like I met so many writers through YouTube. And so I sent it out to people for notes. And then I sat on it for a year. I went back to YouTube because there was just like, nothing was running at that time. But then a year later, I was like, I think there's something here. I really want to make this. And I was just going to post it on my YouTube channel. But I met Mikey Murphy through YouTube, who he went into writing, directing, and producing. And he really like took me under his wing and guided me through it. And he gave me the confidence because I had already restrictions. I'm like, I don't know if we could shoot this on film, like, but this is, he's like, don't worry about that. He's just like, whatever your creative vision is, I'm going to help you make it come true. And so that's why I was like, okay, he set me up with a DP who specializes in film. Like, these are all things I originally was like, I don't know if I have the skill set to like make this like my first thing. But again, like the team around me was amazing.
So how did you kind of think about that risk? How are you willing to put so much into that?
Yeah.
What gave you that confidence?
I'm not the type of person you should ask business advice from, for sure. I've just always been like that. I'm very like impulsive. I'm the type of person that I'm like I will stop at nothing to make it happen and to make the vision happen. And yeah, no, I definitely put myself in like an uncomfortable position, but I wouldn't recommend that. But I really did believe in it. I don't know. It reminded me of when I first started making YouTube videos. I remember I had this like aha moment because I was in university and I was really unhappy. I was just like, every YouTuber that I admire has started from 0 subscribers. I can do it. I believe in myself. I think if I put the work in, I can make this happen. And I had that moment again with directing and making this film. I was like, I don't know. It's maybe delusion, but I really do believe in it. And so I put my all into it.
One thing I want to dig into is shooting on film.
Yes.
And in particular, like, how did that change your process, your approach to storytelling and directing versus shooting on digital video?
I feel like, well, with film, we're really limited on takes, especially like on the low budget project. So we had like 1 to 2 takes per scene, which was honestly my preference because I think gave a reason for everyone on the crew and the cast to like really like hone in and make sure like everyone's prepared for when the cameras start rolling. But I think something I noticed about my directing is that I go into it knowing what I want, and that's how I kind of went into my YouTube videos. Like when I was making YouTube videos, I shoot with the edit in mind and the cuts in mind. So I kind of had that same mentality going into Reply. There's a different feeling on set when you're shooting on digital versus film. I feel like with digital, you're like, okay, we have as many takes, but there's something like Like, we got one shot at this. Let's do it together. I really like that energy. Like, I don't know, the final product is, I personally love film more than digital, but yeah, so I'm biased, but I think it looks, there's just an extra spark to it.
I forgot who talks about it this way. Filmmakers who shoot like editors and how that can be like a really great advantage for shooters and DPs, because if you've edited, you know how it's gonna like wind up. And so it helps you to actually shoot it effectively, and you know how much coverage to get, you know when not to get coverage. Did you get a lot of coverage on set, or was it just like whatever takes you got were the ones that were going to be in that section of the story?
Yes. Yeah. We like predicted the amount of film we would need, and we were right on the money with that. So yeah.
And then you also mentioned being behind the camera as opposed to being in front of the camera, like depressurized the situation for you and reduced your anxiety. What's that about? Because like on set, you know, you just said like you have a certain amount of film, like you get a certain amount of takes. Wasn't that a lot of pressure? Didn't you feel pressure, or like why was that kind of pressure different when you're behind the camera versus in front of it?
I felt like with Reply, I had so much trust in the actors. Like, I wrote those parts with those actors in mind. I knew that they can do it. I like literally wrote the lines specifically for them, hearing it within their voice. And we had rehearsals beforehand, so I had already seen that I know that they could do it.
How many rehearsals did you do with the actors?
Just one.
Just one rehearsal?
Yeah.
And you walked through each scene for a couple hours and then you were done?
Yes, yeah.
For the whole film?
Yes. Which was not, I just feel like they were so professional and so talented, and I had so much trust in them and faith in them that I wasn't stressed at all. Me, on the other hand, if I were on camera, I just get really in my head, and it wouldn't have been the same. I wouldn't have been able to execute the way they did.
What is your directing style like with actors? How do you communicate what you want? How did you communicate what you wanted to those actors? Were you, I mean, some directors, for example, literally give actors feedback, like Steven Spielberg will say, like, hold this in front of your face, lower it down 1 inch per second, you know, for like 6 seconds. Like, he'll be like very specific with like types of movements and body motions he wants actors to do. Where do you fall on the how to direct actor spectrum?
I mean, I'm such a fan of actors, so that was like my favorite part, but I just believe in their instincts. And so to me, like, they know that the characters better than I do. And I would prefer whatever they think is best that they do. And I mean, Reply's the only time I ever really worked with actors. It was like a 3-day shoot. But based off that experience, I trust in what they're doing and where they want to take it.
And then how about your direction to the camera and your director of photography? Yeah, how did you describe what you wanted to
I mean, I feel like I got really lucky because I feel like I found my like work soulmate with my DP. She's the one who helped me with What Happened to Elle Mills as well, in the music video I did. I think right off the bat because I was really scared. Again, like with YouTube, it's all me. And so to like let go of that is scary, but I had so much trust in her, and I feel like she was able to bring my vision to life better than I had imagined. Again, I have rhythm in my mind. I'd say I'm pretty collaborative in terms of like, I guess I'm more with the camera movement and like the beats because I'm thinking about the edit. But in terms of like lighting and setup, like I have a general look, but like the way I like working with my team is just like let them do them. Like I want them to feel like I trust them, and like I want to hire people who know better than I do. Just like, as long as we're all on the same page about the overall vision. Yeah.
So the last video you posted to YouTube is What Happened to Elle Mills. In that video, you're basically, I mean, at the end you take a vow. Like, it's the close of the second chapter and the start of this new chapter, which is exploring your career as a director-writer.
Yeah.
And can we actually watch a clip of that What Happened to Elle Mills video?
Yes.
Let's watch this.
The cool thing about social media platforms is that it's a raw and direct connection to an audience. It's personal. It makes people feel like they know you. It makes you feel like you're understood. And in a weird way, you become the main character. But there are a lot of layers to the damages making my life so public has had on me, including a lot of the relationships in my life. These are things I can't undo, which led me to the biggest breakthrough I had about creating. I don't want my life to be the product anymore. My friend Tomska said this quote once, and it really stuck with me. But not everyone deserves your vulnerability. And as much as I know that now, a lot of my past traumas are still public knowledge, and that's just something I'm going to continue to navigate and heal from for the rest of my life. That all being said, I am coming to peace with it, and I can look back at it all as just a chapter in my life. But moving forward, I'd rather tell my stories and perspectives in ways that aren't at the expense of my privacy.
So what's the next couple of years like? What are you dreaming about? What does this mean for Elle fans? And like, what's the plan?
Yeah, I mean, for the past like year and a bit, I've been working on a feature.
Writing a feature.
Writing a feature, yeah. So hopefully that's done. And I'm trying my best to get that done because I think that's really what I want to do. And I'd say Reply would be like, it definitely sets the tone of like what it would look like. I think I wanted to expand that idea of like a queer teen romance, just because that's like where my heart is at with, I don't know, like growing up, that those are the types of films I loved, and I really wanted to make my own, like a love letter to my high school self. So that's really what's coming up. I mean, I'm doing some like directing stuff, so mostly that's where my heart's at, but also just getting more experience as a director, I guess.
Directing stuff like music videos and short films, commercials, stuff like that?
Yes.
And how are you doing that? How are you getting that work?
Well, once I decided I wanted to shift, I got a new manager, and he's been helping me in like helping my team kind of guide me in this transition. And so Reply was really it was a proof of my work, I guess, and like my directing capabilities. And I think that and just like what happened at Elle Mills and the music video I did, I think are all proof that I can do it.
So people are paying you to direct videos?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I know.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So you've been through so many phases of creativity, and you're entering a new phase right now. What advice would you give to an aspiring young creator who wants to start?
I think my biggest thing is be true to yourself and what you want to see. Like, I think you should be the biggest fan of your work. I personally think people can feel authenticity, whether that be consciously or subconsciously. And I do believe that the people who have longevity with their career are the ones who are making stuff that's true to them. Because even if you start off like following the trends, you're gonna set yourself up to be burnt out quicker. And I think actually enjoying what you do, people can feel that. So that would be my first thing. Second thing would be, especially if you are in front of the camera, I think the biggest thing I learned is not everyone deserves your vulnerability. And I feel like it can be easy to fall into this, people are listening to you, people care, you know, these people that you don't see. And it's like this, I don't know, it's a kind of this loophole of releasing this vulnerability that's like bottled up inside of you. And it's like an easy trap to fall into. But I think just being careful of what you share of yourself, because things on the internet last forever. And especially if you're young, I know it might sound crazy, but 2 years from now, you're going to be very different, hopefully. And so it's just being cautious of that and not giving too much of yourself up. Yeah, I'd say those are the two biggest things.
Next 10 years, blow your mind, go exactly as you would have ever hoped. Your wildest dreams come true. What happens over the next 10 years?
Oh gosh, I'm making films. People want it, and people, I would love a stability in that. I think that would be the dream, that I'm making the stuff I want, and people are allowing me to make the stuff that I really want to make.
Awesome. I think that's a great place to end. Thank you, Elle, for being here and doing this with me. Thank you. I appreciate it.